I'm going to walk through this monitor the way I would if I were sitting at my desk, trying to decide whether it actually solves the problems I've run into with other panels. The goal here isn't to hype a glossy headline, it's to help you see if the real-world experience lines up with what you need. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's acknowledge the hesitation most of us feel when a new display promises eye-popping specs. A 27-inch OLED panel with 360Hz sounds like a dream for competitive gamers, but the flip side is heat, potential burn-in, and a price tag that can make you wonder if you're buying a future-proof piece of hardware or just a shiny status symbol. I spent a few weeks comparing OLED options, reading the 4.6-star rating from over 300 reviewers, and watching a handful of long-form setup videos. What emerged were two clear patterns: people who need ultra-fast motion handling and deep contrast love the visual punch, while those who are sensitive to static UI elements or who work long hours in front of the screen sometimes run into the more subtle drawbacks of OLED. Let's start with the visual side, because that's the most obvious reason anyone reaches for an OLED. The 26.5-inch QHD 2560140 panel delivers a pixel density that feels crisp for both gaming and content creation. In fast-paced shooters, the 360Hz refresh rate actually translates into smoother motion when you pair it with a high-end GPU that can push that many frames. I tested it on a 3080 Ti running at ultra settings, and the monitor kept up without stuttering, even during rapid panning. The OLED matrix gives you true blacks and a color volume that rivals a calibrated studio monitor, so you notice details and shadows that you'd miss on a typical VA panel. If you're the type of player who relies on spotting an enemy silhouette in a dark corner, that contrast boost can feel like a competitive edge. But that contrast comes with a responsibility: OLED pixels degrade over time if you leave static images on the screen for too long. ASUS mitigates this with their OLED Care Plus technology, which includes pixel shift and screen dimming after periods of inactivity. In practice, the pixel shift is subtle enough that it doesn't distract you during a marathon session, and the dimming only kicks in after about an hour of static UI, which is reasonable for most gamers. If you spend most of your day with a static HUD, think of strategy games or finance dashboards, be aware that you'll need to enable those care features or take short breaks to let the panel rest. Heat is another hidden trade-off that often gets glossed over. OLED panels can run warm, especially when you push a 360Hz refresh rate at high brightness. ASUS addressed this with a custom heatsink and an advanced airflow design that sits behind the panel. In my testing, the monitor's surface stayed comfortably cool to the touch even after 2 hours of continuous high-intensity gaming. The cooling system is quiet, so you won't hear a fan spin up as you would with some high-refresh LCDs. That said, the monitor does draw a bit more power than a typical LED panel, which could matter if you're trying to keep your electricity bill low or you have a compact power supply. Now, the ROG Aura Light Bar ALB01 is the sort of feature that can feel gimmicky or genuinely useful, depending on your setup. The light bar attaches magnetically to the monitor's patented clamp, and it offers 3 lighting modes that sync with on-screen action. For people who game in a darkroom, the ambient lighting can reduce eye strain by providing a soft glow that matches the game's color palette. I found the game pulse mode, which pulses in time with the action, adds an immersive layer without being distracting. If you're streaming or creating content, the light bar can double as a subtle background accent that makes your face look better on camera. However, if you prefer a minimalist desk or already have a dedicated bias lighting system, the light bar might feel redundant. Who should consider buying this monitor? If you are a competitive shooter or fast-paced action gamer who already owns a GPU capable of delivering well over 200 frames per second at 1440p, you'll likely appreciate the combination of ultra-high refresh and OLED contrast. The monitor also shines for creators who need accurate colors and deep blacks for video editing or photo work, especially if they already have a color-managed workflow. The clamp and magnetic buckle make the monitor easy to mount on a desk without a heavy VESA bracket, which is a plus for those with limited desk space. Who might skip it? If you primarily play slower, turn-based games, or you spend the bulk of your day in productivity apps with static UI,